a claim is made by the representative of Israel who spoke before me. I will make 3 points, Excellency. First, actions of occupying power in Palestine and indeed in the broader region are well documented. These actions constitute clear violations of international law. What we see today and time again are acts to terrorize civilian populations and crimes against humanity and forced displacement of a whole community, starvation of innocent people, and killing and maiming hundreds of thousands. And someone doing all these things are lecturing us today what they call genocide and things like that. I'm shocked to listen to the outrageous comments from the Israeli representative. If we want to talk about genocide, it's Israel that's committing on our own eyes every day. He represents a government that killed more than 70,000 people, civilians, including children, women, elderly, doctors, and other health workers, and patients in hospitals, destroying infrastructures, deliberately starving people of Gaza. To come before us, esteemed council, and accuse Somalia of committing genocide is just ridiculous and it's unbelievable. The other thing that I want to add is he has no idea what Somali is and where Somalis are and what Somali stands for. I think the history is a selective history that he has just generated on his own mind. Let me give you some lessons on this. There is a systematic, it's a troubling, Somalia is one country, one people, one religion that fought together for independence from the colonial. And Somalia is again one that's fighting terrorist organizations in the Horn of Africa as a one group, one religion, one ethnic group. And then when you say the Somaliland, that was a British Somaliland. It was two regions, the northeast region and northwest region. And now northeast region is part of, which is 45% of the land and the population are part of the federal government of Somalia. What we're talking about is northwest, which is also having a problem. Half of northwest is now all the region, which is close to the Djibouti border. And they are totally against what the Isaq people that you say, Isaq genocide. And there was no such genocide in Somalia that took place. Somalia had a civil war, and the civil war has its own effects. And we believe the civil war was also financed from outside. So to come to this place and lecture us humanity and genocide and human rights and independence and democracy, and we know what you're doing on a daily basis, is just an insult. And I cannot take it without responding.
So we're breaking the breaking news. I'm sure we're all aware by now that Somaliland has been recognized by Israel. How do you feel about that? If you are Somalian, and if you're from the area of Somalia known as Somaliland, do you feel proud of it? Look, here's the map. Let's get it up on the screen for you. This was interestingly shared from Syrians Love Israelis. That's the Twitter handle. And they're saying that the Druze people support Somaliland. So the Druze are an ethno-religious community. They're a minority found in both Syria and Lebanon and elsewhere in the Levant. And a portion of them here are claiming that they love Israelis, and they are quite excited about the Balkanization of Somalia. We're looking at the Horn of Africa here. Just across the sea from Yemen is Somalia, and that northern tip part there is what's known as Somaliland. They have declared their independence. Now this strategic part of Africa, the Horn of Africa, reaching out into the Indian Ocean, you're just across the sea from the Arabian Peninsula and of course India. these strategic spots are always where the imperial powers like to put their bases, like to have control, and it's no wonder that these countries get fragmented and chopped up. Anyone from Puntland? I know there is some independence movement in Puntland as well, but the representative of Somalia previously was mentioning that Somalia is a unified country, a single ethnicity, a single religion, unifying the people. Sometimes we can be a bit critical of ethno-states, especially when the idea of an ethno-state can seem to be quite archaic and very much a 19th, 20th century idea. But if there is only one ethnicity in the state, and the people all speak the same language, and they follow the same religion, it would seem, why would you want to break that country up into different fragments, unless you had something to gain? Don't forget, just across the road from Somalia, they don't share a border, but they're in the same region just a bit further north, Sudan. Sudan was the biggest country in Africa, and the minute Sudan decided to sell all its oil to China, well, all of a sudden there was an independent South Sudan declared independence overnight. So it seems that the minute any African country, any country in the global south, do we still call it the global south? The minute they get a bit too big or a bit too strong, you need a little bit of freedom. Everton Watson, great name, is saying, Africa love, one Africa. Yeah, Africa Unite was not only a great song by Bob Marley, but an idea that Muammar Gaddafi had before they dragged him through the street and took his life. Cloudy Hobbit is saying, have you seen the travel vlog with the guy who went to Somaliland? No, I haven't. And there's a big Somali community in the UK, in London especially, and I sense that Somaliland was the part of Somalia that was governed by the British. So a lot of the Somali community here hail from what is now being declared Somaliland, and there is a sense of that part of the country perhaps, look, forgive me if I'm wrong, I want to get someone from Somalia on the phone, and you can send me a voice note and explain to me, is there something about this area of Somalia that sees itself as a little bit superior to the rest of the country, in perhaps the way that Yemen was divided? Remember, Yemen was south and north not so long ago, and Aden was controlled by the British. Somalia, of course, you had the Italians in that part of the world as well. It's been the culture, the language, the cuisine is very much influenced by that Italian presence. Wherever they've gone, the imperial powers have left behind their influence. Here are some Somalians getting very excited about it, or people from Somaliland. I'm going to get you the next clip up on the screen here and have a look at the flag. Uh-oh. If anyone can translate, kindly give us the gist of what these Somali gentlemen were saying. They are proudly flying the Israeli flag because, of course, Israel recognized their independence of Somaliland. Cloudy Hobbit is comically saying, that's right, big population, but not in London. It's now London Stan, I believe. Of course, Stan is I think it's a Turkic suffix from the Turkic language, and that's why places like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and other parts of Central Asia have that suffix. But of course, Somalia is nothing to do with that. Mr. Darwish is saying they said Israel is closer to the for everyone. Thank you, Mr. Darwish. If that's you giving us a direct translation of the Somali, thank you very much for that. How do I say thank you in Somali? I'm sure you would understand Jazakumullah khair. But a couple of dumb fools. Let's hear some more from a different horse's mouth.
Mr. President.
Mr. Prime Minister.
It's good to talk to you. And before anything else, I want you to know that I'm signing now, as we speak, Israel's official recognition.
Don't need to translate this one.
Somaliland and its right of self-determination. Our friendship is seminal and historic. So I'm very, very happy and I'm very proud of this day, and I want to wish you and the people of Somalia the very, very best there. I think this will be a great opportunity for expanding our partnership. We intend to work together with you on economic fields, on agriculture, in the fields of social development, all the things that we hope we can assist you, and we obviously believe in this friendship. And I have to tell you that there's a lot of excitement here in Israel as well. So I want to use this opportunity, sir, to invite you to an official visit to Israel at your convenience. And I hope very much to see you here soon. This is a wonderful day. It's a historic day. And of course, I'll communicate to President Trump your willingness and desire to join the Abraham Accords. So thank you, Mr. President. Please convey my best regards and the best regards of the people of Israel to the independent people of Somaliland. Thank you, sir.
That's a great moment and great historical day.
It's doing it off a mobile phone. I thought we were low tech.
The party is here. The other group is the chairman of the party and the vice president. And key officials are here. Mr. Prime Minister, I accepted the invitation, and I am ready as soon as possible for that arrangement that can be made.
We shall arrange it very soon, and please convey my warmest regards to your colleagues and to the people. Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you. See you soon in Jerusalem. Next year in Jerusalem, we say. It's a few days from now. Thank you, sir.
Sure, I will be glad to be in Jerusalem as soon as possible.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go. Cutting edge technology, doing it off a phone. Let's have a look at the map again. You can see that Somaliland is just across the sea from Yemen. What happened recently, I can't remember, but there was some resistance to what Netanyahu was doing, and it came out of Yemen. They say that a fire will come out of Yemen one day. There's a prophecy about that. So I wonder why Netanyahu wants friends and allies down in Somaliland, just across the sea from Yemen. Does he want to be in touching distance of where that resistance came from? And look, a lot of people who were shocked to see this kind of thing, the flag, and Somali people, Muslim people, celebrating and waving that flag. Don't be so surprised. Remember when a year ago the government changed in Syria, right next door to Netanyahu. Remember when that happened? Netanyahu claimed to take credit for starting and assisting the procedure that led to that overthrow, to that revolution. Right or wrong, whether you like the guy previously or the guy that's there now, Netanyahu took credit for that situation. But many people, rightly or wrongly, were celebrating what happened in Syria a year ago. I think it's far too early to celebrate anything. Mr. Darwish, a great contributor, is saying Somaliland is made of 3 major clans: the Dulbante, Samaron, and Isaac. Dulbante has already seceded, and the Samaron have been fighting 2 years to secede. Right, so it's all about tribes, is it? Kabyle, do they call them Kabyle? The tribes? So even though, as the statesman said earlier, Somalia are all the same religion, they all speak the same language, they are the same ethnicity, but they are a different tribe. They are people that see themselves as different. And unfortunately, human nature being what it is, all you need in order to get people to fight each other is to put them into 2 different groups, 2 different tribes, and especially if you treat one better than another, or one appears to live a better life than another, then they will hate each other. Unfortunately, this is human nature. As united as you might think they look, they can easily be divided. We've got the Somali Prime Minister, Hamza Abdi. It's a great Somali name. Hamza Abdi Bari says that Netanyahu, instead of recognising Somaliland as an independent country, should recognise the state of Palestine and stop killing its people every day. Yeah, that would be a good idea. There's lots of accusations of hypocrisy, and remember when Netanyahu was saying how dangerous it is, how reckless it is for countries like the UK to recognise the Palestinian state. What you're recognising, I don't know. What's left of Palestine, be it the West Bank, East Jerusalem, or Gaza. Whenever people get onto the topic of Israel, support for Israel, recognition of Israel, and does Israel have the right to exist, I always ask the question, well, what do you mean by Israel? What are you calling Israel? Because there are an awful lot of Israelis living outside of Israel, living in the West Bank, living in the illegal settlements. If that's part and parcel of what you mean by Israel, then it's very difficult to recognise that. It's breaking international law. And Somali Prime Minister is urging Netanyahu to recognise the state of Palestine. I don't think he will ever do that. We've got some more detail. Israel recognises Somaliland as an independent state, and there is the president. Israel has become the first country to formally recognise Somalia as breakaway nation. Yeah, I wonder who will be the next country to do so. And we can be very short-sighted. If you are from Somaliland and you're a proud separatist, maybe there's great reason for Somaliland to be separate. Maybe they're better off as separate. But are you really that short-sighted not to see the bigger picture? And a similar comparison would be Kosovo. When Kosovo was declared an independent country without the permission of the surrounding countries, without the permission of the people that lived there or that had recently lived there and had been expelled from there, the ethnic cleansing that went on both sides, all sides in the Balkan Wars, during the Balkanization, and then all of a sudden you've got this country called Kosovo. And if you're a Kosovan, or more likely a Kosovan Albanian, ethnic Albanian from Kosovo, you're probably very proud and very glad to have an independent country. But why did that happen? And at what cost? And are other countries in the Middle East headed for Balkanization? And the other story that I wanted to chat to you about, as it's been Christmas, there's been lots of mention, of course, of Jesus, and a priest had the audacity, is that the word? A priest upset a lot of people by calling Jesus a Palestinian Jew during a CNN interview. Was Jesus Palestinian? What do you think? He was born in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is not in Israel. Bethlehem is in the West Bank. That's part of the illegally occupied Palestinian territories. But of course, he was known as Jesus of Nazareth, and his parents were from Nazareth, and he grew up and lived in Nazareth, and Nazareth is inside the state of Israel today. It's a majority Palestinian town inside the borders of Israel, and I think it was up for a bit of land swap. It's one of those areas that in a possible future settlement, two-state solution, I believe I'm right in saying that Israel were considering giving that up in exchange for some of the areas that were taken up by the settlements. So Nazareth is inside Israel, but it has a very much Palestinian identity. So I'm told, having looked at the demographics and speaking to people that have lived there. Mr. Darwish is updating us. 45% of Somaliland has already seceded, has now joined Somalia. Now 75% will secede. Samaron wants to join Somalia. So Somalia spirit never dies. What about Puntland? Are we going to see a separate independent Puntland? A lot of the Somali community in London are very proud of their identity. Many of them will wear the wristband with the Somali flag on it. Some wear the Somaliland flag on their wrist. And I have even seen Puntland around the wrist. So there is definitely more than one independence movement in the Somali community. Arman Saeed is saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He seems to be doing some dhikr in the comment section there. Appreciate that. Acton Man is saying, hello there. Hello, Acton Man. And yeah, there's more dhikr going on. Let's Get Weird TV is saying, in Epiphanius' account, Panorion 26:8, Jesus produces something and has Mary Magdalene consume it as part of a mystical teaching. Is that so? I've heard that topic mentioned before. Mr. Darwish is declaring that Puntland doesn't want to secede. Okay, that's good. I have seen, people wearing the flag on the wrist. I thought that might mean that there's some independence movement going on. And what does the name Somalia mean? I've heard that it's something to do with milk. Can anyone give me the etymology of the name? Let's Get Weird TV is saying Palestine never exhausted before 1948. Bither was a group of people. BU5, look at Quran. Palestine never was mentioned. Israel is 47 times. Yes, of course, Bani Israel are mentioned in the Quran, 100%. Palestine or Palestine is not mentioned in the Quran. That doesn't really mean that you should be able to commit atrocities against people, though, does it? Let's Get Weird saying sorry, bad spelling. That's okay, my friend. Dyslexics are welcome here. I think I'm dyslexic myself. Grant Grainer is saying free Gaza from one of the movements over there. And Let's Get Weird saying, and the land was promised by Allah. Well, yes, the Holy Land, the Ard al-Muqaddas, promised to Bani Israel, the children of Israel, on the condition that they followed God's law, if I'm right, and God was an estate agent at some point, it seems, and then according to lots of the holy books, they were banished from the land. Although I believe DNA testing has kind of questioned that, and there is a lot of evidence suggesting that really the Palestinians that are living there now, many of them will be the descendants of Jewish converts to firstly Christianity and then later Islam. So a lot of them will have Jewish blood, if you believe that religion or ethnicity is passed down in the blood. I believe that is the case, and of course many of the Jewish people will also be descendant from people that lived in that region, because that region has always been multi-ethnic, multi-religious. The Canaanites, the Philistines, the Phoenicians, the Israelites, the Samaritans. Do I have to name more? The Druze, the Arameans, the Armenians have been there for generations. The Bedouins. How many ethnicities do you want me to mention? But you want to have one state for one people? And even Somalia, that is apparently homogenous. Is that the region? It's falling apart because the people are different tribes, or part of it was ruled by Britain and another part of it was ruled by Italy. Let's Get Weird TV is appreciating the appreciation for the dyslexics. Yeah, absolutely. I was shocked when I received the letter confirming that I was dyslexic. Mr. Darwish is saying, yeah, it comes from word Somal, meaning go and milk, because of Somali pastoral heritage. So in that part of Africa, they must have been herdsmen. And this is the region you're close to where the Muslims sought refuge in the time of the Prophet. England gave it to Jordan, and then Jordan conquered rest and last, but was given to Palestine. And we're talking about that's back in the Holy Land. Yeah, look, all these regions have been under different empires and different rulings. I remember in my time spent in Palestine, there's sort of a positive reminiscing about the British mandate, because although they were not a free, independent country, they were not under a military occupation. And in the town of Nablus in the West Bank, there is a good old-fashioned British red post box with the royal crest on it. Is it ER? Well, or whichever monarch it was at the time. Mr. Darwish is saying, or from the ancestral father of the Somali people, Samail, beneficent. Let's Get Weird TV is saying that's crazy, still has a mailbox. Yeah, I've got a photo of it, and it's pretty smashed up and very old, and it was next to a pile of rubbish, but it is sort of kept as a reminiscent relic of the past. And the Palestinians sense that they went out of the frying pan and into the fire, having been in the British Mandate, and then of course it was controlled by Jordan from 1948 up until the Six-Day War in 1967, and it's been under occupation ever since. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to Palestine. I first set foot in the West Bank in 2010, flew to Jordan, made my way across the River Jordan, across the checkpoint, the Allenby Bridge checkpoint, or the King Hussein Bridge, as they call it in Jordan. It's called Allenby by the Israelis, and that was my first experience of entering Palestine. I headed straight for Bethlehem and saw the Church of the Nativity, and I visited other towns and of course Jerusalem, and we visited Hebron. Hebron heavily occupied and segregated. Let's Weird TV is saying, great channel, brother. Subscribed and be back. You actually read the crazy comments too. Regular one, respect for that. I appreciate it. Let's Get Weird TV. And look, we try to have minimal censorship in here. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you. I really want this to be a platform for discussion. So much of the algorithms that we have now just spit back to people what they already agree with, what they already believe in, and you rarely get anyone discussing anything. Even on the great George Galloway's TV show, the mother of all talk shows, which I am proud to have contributed to in the past, and now I'm just a fan. Mostly it's people agreeing with him. But the best thing about George Galloway used to be when he used to get in a cracking argument with someone, and he had some nutters that used to phone him up. And of course, he is a Palestine supporter, lifelong supporter, and people would phone up and argue the other side, and it made for great listening. But so much of what we hear now is just people agreeing with each other. Apart from if you go to Speaker's Corner, that's mostly people disagreeing, and maybe that's why content from Speaker's Corner does so well, because it has that sort of unique selling point of at least you get two differing sides on the screen, although usually it will have been uploaded by a channel that subscribes to very much one side of the argument, and that channel will be watched by people very much of one side of the argument, and probably most of the comments will be as well. And Let's Get Weird TV is mentioning that I presume he's a guy. Most people that watch this channel are male. Sorry if you're not. Let's Get Weird TV is saying, I've travelled the globe. No Middle East yet. Well, they don't call it the Middle East anymore. Very, very much being referred to as West Asia now. That's the politically correct term for the Middle East. West Asia. And if we're talking continents, well, it is in the west of it. Why is it called? I mean, people in the Middle East still call it Sharq al-Awsat, the East, middle. But if we're being technical, it is West Asia. I mean, what the Middle East of what? Why is everything just sort of described in terms of, well, the West, where it is from the West? We live in the West. They live in the Middle East or the Far East. I mean, the Earth's a globe. I hope we can all agree. So you're all east of somewhere or west of somewhere. But we can get a little bit too politically correct in our language. I mean, even the Middle East itself, the names they describe the region in terms of sort of Mecca, let's say, where the Islamic, or Medina, the Islamic civilization sprouted out from. That's kind of in the middle. Yemen, al-Yamin means the right. So if you are facing east and you're standing in the middle of Arabia, Yemen is to al-Yamin, is to the right. And Bilad al-Sham is for Shamal, is towards the north, although I don't know if that's really why Bilad al-Sham took that name. In English, they call Bilad al-Sham Greater Syria or the Levant. And the Levant comes from level, levitate, as in to rise up, because the sun rises in the east. So when the Europeans looked to the east and they saw the sun rising in the east, they said, over there is the Levant, the place that is rising up, the rising sun. Bit similar to why Japan has got a rising sun on its flag, because Japan is regarded as the land of the rising sun because it's in the east. But of course, anything can be in the east if you go far enough west. East of Japan, if you keep going east, you'll get to America. Trust me. I've tried it. Somalis were never truly colonized. Colonizer knew of the warrior spirit of the Somali people, which is why the French, British, Ethiopian, Italians teamed up to try and hold down the Somali people. Yeah, so I know that Mussolini, in his Abyssinian campaign, Abyssinia is the old name for that part of the world, and I think that's where we get Habash. For Arabic, is it Habash? Habashia, the dialect of Arabic that's spoken in that part of the world. Abyssinia, that is Somalia and Ethiopia, that sort of part of the Horn of Africa, as we call it. Bobcat is saying hi, you're very welcome. Mr. Darwish is saying, because of what the Somalis did to the Portuguese Empire 500 years ago. Yeah, I forget that the Portuguese were in that part of the world. When I stopped off very briefly in Bahrain, I had the pleasure of seeing some of the Portuguese architecture that was left behind by the Portuguese while they were on their way to Goa. Gustav OMG is saying Jesus probably looked more similar to Palestinians. However, that term would have only been used by Romans. It seems like in Hebrew books, Palestine refers to a different historical people. Yeah, well, the Philistines who came to Philistia, as you will see Gaza referred to in the old maps. The Philistines, as the other side loved to mention, were a seafaring people that came from one of the Greek islands. And of course the Israelites, the Hebrews, the name Hebrew refers to the ones that cross over. So the Hebrews crossed over from somewhere, just as the Philistines crossed over from the sea. We all came from somewhere. you go back far enough, we all came from Africa. Just not everyone believes that God promised us a country and only us. Many people have lived in the region. Even the Balfour Declaration, from Lord Balfour to Baron Rothschild, even the Balfour Declaration mentions a homeland, but not at the expense of the people already living there. Favour Littered is saying why there is no such thing as prospect of Asia. I don't know about that. Terrific is saying Jesus is Jewish. Kalergi plan. Worship the same who are replacing us. I don't know what that's all about, to be honest. And Gustav is saying, I believe Hebrew and Arab are related terms. Yes, Hebrew, the one that crossed over, and I think the etymology of Arab also relates to a word that means to travel. All of our ancestors were travellers in some shape or form. But let's take the real travellers, for example, the Romany gypsy travellers, the likes of Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. His great-great-great-great-grandparents may have come from Rajasthan in northern India. If you do the DNA test, if you're allowed to, if your country permits it, you do a DNA test on the Romani gypsy people, gypsy travellers. I know that's not a politically correct term, but their DNA leads back to Rajasthan in northern India, long time ago. It's why their language and their slang retains words that are mutually intelligible between their community and people from that part of India. Does that really mean that you could round up all the travelling people? And remember, they did suffer during the 1940s in much a similar way to the Jewish community. Would you really round up that community, transport them into Rajasthan in northern India, boot out the people living there now, the Indian people that are living there now, and say, these people that are distantly related to you 1,000 years ago, 100 generations ago, who are your distant cousins, they've come back now, and we're going to boot you out. You can go and live in the other parts of India. India's a big country. Go and live in a different part of India. This part is now going to become the Romani traveller state. Would that make any sense? Do you not think that those people that you booted out would try to resist, would try to return to where they'd been living for generations? Mr. Darwish is saying that the Portuguese occupied Oman, Bahrain, UAE and Awas and taxed them until the Somalis freed them after they kicked the Portuguese from Madagascar, Mozambique, Kenya, which freed the Arabs after. And Mark Paint Doctor is saying fake. What's fake, Mark Paint Doctor? Sounds like we've got someone that disagrees, and as I was saying, we always like to hear from people that disagree. I didn't realise that the Portuguese were in Madagascar. Madagascar's huge, and we know so little about it. It's one of those countries that has been eclipsed by the film of its name. I've never been to Madagascar. I know nothing about it, but I know that Sacha Baron Cohen voiced a character on a film called Madagascar. And interestingly enough, Sacha Baron Cohen is also responsible for tarnishing the reputation of Kazakhstan, a country that no one had heard of until Borat, and now everyone erroneously associates it with the comedy reporter. But he is very good. He is very funny. He is very clever. whether he's fair or not, I don't know, but it's a great British comedian, one of the best. So look, the number's up there. If anyone wants to give it a try, you could give me a call on WhatsApp. You could leave me a voice note, and I would just play it down the phone without listening to it first. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to risk it. Please don't say anything hateful or illegal. And we've got onto the topic of Palestine. I mean, it relates very much to the topic of Somalia, but I did want to speak about Somalia initially and Somali land. I've got one more story to put up for you. Look, on the topic of whether Jesus was Palestinian or not, this is Israeli forces detained Santa Claus in a raid on Palestinian Christmas celebration. A man dressed as Santa, oh, is it not the real one then, sends balloons near Nativity Square during a Christmas tree lighting ceremony in Bethlehem. And I believe that some Palestinian Christians... Well, hang on a minute. This is police interrupt the festivities in Haifa. So the picture is from Bethlehem, which is in the occupied West Bank. But the incident occurred in Haifa, which is inside Israel. I've met a lot of Palestinians who originally come from Haifa. One of the camps I was working in Lebanon in 2014, Burj al Barajneh, I was helping to run a sports program, boxing training program in Burj al Barajneh in Lebanon in 2014, and many of the families that have been living in that camp for generations hail from Haifa, which is now in the north of Israel, which makes sense when you think about the geography. Those that fled north into Lebanon would have come from the north. And of course Haifa, historically, 84 at the time of the Nakba, prior to the Nakba, would have been 80% Arab, Christian and Muslim. It's now 80% Jewish Israeli, but with a strong 20% Arab community, Palestinian, Christian and Muslim. So it's very unfortunate for that community that the Israeli forces detained Santa. I know sometimes Haifa is held up as a beacon of coexistence and kind of proof of the fact that people of different religions can live as equals inside the so-called Jewish state, but it would appear that Santa was having a bit of trouble around Christmas. Gustav is saying Herzl, is referring to Theodor Herzl, I assume, the founding father of the Zionist movement, began potentially the biggest nationalist movement because it has biblical inspirations. Both groups were brown, foreign-looking, although some collaborated. The Shoah, which is the great catastrophe, the Holocaust, was very much the fault of the party that ran Germany in the 30s and 40s. Yes, absolutely. Of course, it is the fault of the people that carried out those atrocities. Sam Weiss said hi, and so did Ardo Mingoiser. I'm terrible with these names, I am, but I do give it a try. Guys, if anyone wants to attempt to leave a voice note on the WhatsApp number, I will just play it out live, unscreened, without checking it. I'll trust you. I want to experiment with different ways that people communicate on here. Occasionally I will switch to StreamYard, and with StreamYard you can get on the screen by clicking the link, but of course you don't have to turn your camera on. I will play about with that, although at the minute, in order to get video clips and images like you're seeing at the moment, I find this format slightly easier, and we are using Prism live streaming software or an app. But yeah, I'm not sponsored by them, but if anyone wants to live stream, it's a good option. Anyone in the comments, are you fellow live streamers? Are you content creators as well as consumers? It's good to stay creative. Whoever you are, I strongly urge you to give it a go at YouTube. You don't have to be perfect. A lot of people get held back by thinking, it's like people that think, oh well, I'll get fit and then I'll go to the gym. It's not going to happen. Or yeah, I'll when I'm ready. You'll never be ready. Just give it a try. All you got to do is press record. And I think in order to go live, you need a certain number of subscribers. But I think this app that I'm using, Prism, it does circumvent that. Remix is saying, read the title, please. It's obscured by the channel name. Sorry about that. So the headline that we've got here is, and next time I'm going to try and make these smaller because I can see now that when it puts it on the screen, it kind of zooms in a little bit. Israeli forces detain Santa Claus in raid on Palestinian Christmas celebration. Police interrupt festivities in Haifa to disperse event and arrest 3 men. It doesn't mention if they're wise or not, rights groups say. And I think this is from Haaretz, which would be, I think it's Haaretz, quite a left-leaning newspaper in Israel. And that's interesting that they acknowledge the Palestinian identity of the so-called Arab Israelis. Some people don't like to mention that the people that live in Israel with an Israeli citizenship who are Arab, that they are Palestinian, that they are part of the broader Palestinian community, the 48ers as they're known. And Gustav is saying, there's a rabbi who is also Christian and promotes 1,000-year kingdom from Book of Revelation. Trend of removing pagan influence and consolidating group power. Is there really a rabbi who has become... Why are you still a rabbi if you become Christian? I mean, there are Jews for Jesus. There are people... And this is, somehow Judaism regards itself as more than just a religion. You can be Jewish without believing in Judaism. Believe it or not. It's an ethno-religious group. Are there other groups like that? Not many. Some people argue that the Sikh community are also an ethno-religious group. And Peter Bills is saying, which app do I need to call in? Well, look, Peter, you could phone the number on the, and I'll put it on the screen. You could call the number, and it's +44 7886 993 784. I would advise you to use WhatsApp, or you could simply send me a voice note on WhatsApp, and I will play it straight down the phone. I'm experimenting with that as a way of contributing. But yeah, if you want to give it a try, that's the number. We're in the UK, so it's +44 886 993 784. I'm a big fan of phone-in radio, and it got me through a lot of my teenage years listening to the likes of Tommy Boyd and James Whale on Talk Sport in the evenings. So I'm trying to recreate it. Over here, Peter Bills is saying that number is indeterminate. So if you're outside the UK, Peter, and I sense you might be in America, you would need to put 0044. And your best bet is to perhaps try it on WhatsApp. Try a voice note on WhatsApp. I think would definitely work. This is a number that I only use for live streaming. I'm not going to give you a number to anyone else. If you're worried about that. Gustav saying, thank you for stimulating topic. There's an organisation called Rabbis for Human Rights that shows compassion to Palestinians. Well said, Gustav. Look, definitely. And there's another organisation, Beit Salem, I believe, are another organisation, Israeli organisation, that concerns itself with the rights of Palestinians. Absolutely. There are people on all sides that want to live in peace. We hope for a just peace in Palestine, in Somalia, and I often quote George Galloway on this channel because I think he's a very wise man. He said that the problem is not that there's too few countries in the world, there's too many. We don't need to create a northern Sudan and a southern Sudan and a Somalia and a Somaliland and a Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. And I don't think we need two-state solution in the Holy Land. I hope for one country. And as George Galloway says, why don't you call it the Holy Land? What's in the name? And Peter Bill is saying 044, is WhatsApp controlled by China? I don't think WhatsApp is controlled by China, Peter. I hope not. Although we don't know what China control secretly. If you want to get through to me on WhatsApp, I think if you put 0044 7886 993 784, it should come through as a call, or you could leave a voice note and I would play it out. That's the best that I can do at the moment. As I say, another night I will switch to StreamYard, and people can just click the link. Smoke Steve, of course, is another great live streamer. He does his live stream usually on a Saturday, and Pete Bills is saying, who are WhatsApp controlled by? I don't know. Are WhatsApp an American app? Is it WhatsApp an American application? I remember the first person that told me about WhatsApp, and I had no clue what it was my good friend Jamal, who is from Uzbekistan, if it matters. And I thought, oh, well, maybe it's some app that only people in former Soviet countries have heard of. But now, I mean, who hasn't heard of WhatsApp? Even Peter Bills knows all about it. But he is questioning whether it's Chinese. I don't know. TikTok used to be Chinese, didn't it? And I believe it's just been sold, and it's greatly changed the algorithm. Peter Bills is saying this is his live experience. Yeah, we are live, and this is Lessons for Life, and you're all welcome, especially anyone that disagrees with me. I did have a comment that I wanted to read out that I screenshotted from a Facebook interaction that I had, but I'm reticent now to read it out because I haven't obscured the person's name. But if they made a comment on a public post on Facebook, would they really care if I put their Facebook name on the YouTube channel? I don't know. I got into a bit of a debate on the topic of Israel, and someone came back at me with just a most obscure, barely legible retort. English is probably not their first, second, or maybe even third language. But in the era of AI and automatic translation, I just found it bizarre that someone could respond with such a barely legible response. Peter was saying you should definitely show it, but blur the names and the handles. Yeah, I will show it another time. You know, I've got it on the screen. I can attempt to read it without showing it. And I was asking the question about the state of Israel and what constitutes the state, where are the borders, and if the borders are how the map is often depicted, the borders that you see are from the river to the sea. And we know that's not internationally recognised, but that's what Israel supporters often mean when they refer to Israel. And I said, does everyone within those borders have the right to vote? And if not, why not? And of course, Palestinians living in the West Bank under occupation have no say in who runs the country that is occupying them. And the response that came, if I can read it verbatim, yeah, everyone has a right to vote. Abd ubik akays existed, but were conveyed by other countries, and the Jews were exiled from their home. It's just, I'm having a hard time reading it. I'll blur the name and share it another time. People are saying, no, Greater Israel is the goal, is it not? Well, yes, the map of Greater Israel, the goal, not the reality yet, is not from the river to the sea, but from the two rivers, the Nile and the Euphrates. But look, for now, this is the map that matters. I'm sharing it one more time because I want to show Puntland up there. And this is Somaliland has been declared independent. The first country to recognize its independence is Israel. Who will be the second country? If Israel have recognized the independence, why has America not followed suit? Who is in charge here? And can the tail wag the dog? Folks, this has been Lessons for Life, and I want to thank you all for joining me. Please do so again. If you see the live come up, jump on, and I'll find a way that we can communicate, whether it's giving out the phone number for a WhatsApp, or we'll go down the route of StreamYard where you can just click on the screen. I want to wish you all a very happy New Year. May all your dreams come true in 2026, inshallah. This has been Lessons for Life, and we'll do it all again soon. We were here. We are gone. Laters.